Here's a thought experiment. Take a typical man on the street from the year 1900 and send him to the 1950s. Then take someone from the 1950s and move him into the present day. Who would experience the greater change? At first glance, the answer seems obvious. Moved forward into the 1950s, a person from the beginning of the 20th century would be amazed by a world filled with new technological wonders. In place of horse-drawn carriages, he would see cars, trucks, and buses on the streets and highways. In the cities, tall buildings would seem to touch the sky, and huge bridges would span rivers where once only ferries could cross. Flying machines would be overhead, carrying people across continents or oceans in a few hours rather than days. All this, the newness, the speed and power of everyday machines, would amaze that poor traveler. On the other hand, someone from the 1950s would have little trouble moving around in today's world. Although we might think our age is one of fantastic technological wonders, our second time traveler would find himself or herself in a world not so different from the one he or she left. He would still drive a car to work. If he took the train, it would likely be on the same line leaving from the same station. He could probably board an airplane at the same airport. He might still live in a suburban house, although a bigger one. Television would have more channels, but it would basically be the same, and he could still catch some of his favorite 1950s shows on reruns. He would know how, or quickly learn how, to operate most household appliances, even the personal computer, with its familiar QWERTY keyboard. In fact, with just a few exceptions, such as the PC, the internet, CD and DVD players, the cash machine, and a wireless phone he could carry with him, he would be familiar with almost all modern technology. Perhaps disappointed by the pace of progress, he might ask, why haven't we moved more into outer space, or where are all the robots? On the basis only of such big, obvious technological changes, surely the 1900 to 1950s traveler would experience the greater shift. On the other hand, the other might easily conclude that we'd spent the second half of the 20th century doing little more than changing only a few of those important developments from the previous 50 years. However, the longer they stayed in their new homes, the more each time traveler would become aware of smaller changes. Once the excitement about the new technology had faded, each would begin to notice how their values had changed and the ways in which everyday people live and work. In addition, here the tables would be turned. In terms of adjusting to the social structures and the rhythms and patterns of daily life, our second time traveler would be much more confused. Someone from the early 1900s would find the social world of the 1950s much the same as that of 1900. If he worked in a factory, he might find much the same divisions of labor, the same system of control on different levels. If he worked in an office, he would be surrounded by the same managerial system, the same climb up the company ladder. He would come to work at 8 or 9 each morning and leave at exactly 5, his life neatly divided into home and work. He would wear a suit and tie. Our second time traveler, however, would be quite surprised by the rapid social and cultural changes that have occurred between the 1950s and today. At work he would find a new dress code, a new schedule, and new rules. He would see office workers dressed like people relaxing on the weekend, in jeans and open-necked shirts, and be shocked to learn they occupy upper positions in companies. People at the office would seem to come and go as they please. The younger ones might even have strange piercings and tattoos. Even women and non-whites would be managers. Individuality and self-expression would be valued over following company policies. Thus, although the first-time traveler had to adjust to some major technological changes, it is the second who would experience the deeper, more complete change. It is the second who would be thrown into a time when lifestyles and worldviews are most certainly changing, a time when the old order has broken down, when change itself seems to be part of normal, everyday life.